Hi everybody, welcome back to COD Modern Warfare 2019, and in this video I'm going to show you the building blocks that if you put them into place they guarantee you'll become a better player at Modern Warfare. Now you won't be able to do this all at once. There's 15 kind of building blocks we're going to be using, but if you save the link to this video and use it as a reference and return to it every couple of weeks to add another block to your skill set or review some of the ones you've been working on, you'll eventually master them all. So the things we're going to be talking about are the game modes to play, your settings and controller setup, your weapon loadout, the importance of audio, how to stay abreast of changes to the game, how to learn the maps by yourself. We're going to talk about basic movement around the map, building your twitch skills. We're going to talk about how to capture flags and how to defend them. We're going to discuss having a plan or a strategy. We're going to talk a little bit about understanding spawns. We're going to discuss watching the kill cam. We're going to talk about knowing what good actually means. What does it mean to be a good Modern Warfare player? What does it mean to be good at this game? We're going to talk about playing lots, and finally we're going to talk about making sure you have fun. Right, so let's get started because we've got a lot of ground to cover. So the first thing I want to talk about is game modes that I think as a beginner you probably want to look at, and the way that you can control the game modes you want to play in Modern Warfare is via the quick play filter, which is here on the right hand side next to quick play. And I recommend you start off by playing the objective-based game modes of domination and hardpoint, and domination with 20 players. Now, the reason for this is that in domination and hardpoint, the enemy players aren't completely focused on killing you. They're also focused on capturing and defending the objectives. So that gives you a little bit of a break sometimes, and it means that they're not, you know, sometimes people get a little bit objective blind, so they just concentrate on capturing the objective, and it means that you can flank and you can kill them. It also means that you can play a very important role in your team, even if you're not that good at killing people. So even if you're not that good at shooting people, you can still get on that flag in domination or get in that hardpoint in hardpoint and capture it and do your best to defend it, and you'll be scoring points for your team even though maybe you're not killing lots of people. And in domination and hardpoint, scoring points will get you, by doing that, will get you to the top of the leaderboard, and you'd be surprised that you can earn a lot of points and be at the top of your team's leaderboard by killing not that many people, but by capturing lots of flags. Also, this is especially true for domination. By playing domination, it will really start to teach you about how spawns work in Call of Duty and the importance of map control. And what I mean by that is that often the winning team in Call of Duty is the team that has controlled the map and controlled where your enemies are. So what happens in Call of Duty is you all start off at one end of the map, don't you? And then you all rush into the middle and start fighting each other. In domination, you'll have one flag where you spawn and one flag in the middle. And if you can capture those two flags and stay there, the enemies will always be spawning at their flag or around there and then having to push towards you. And the beauty of that is you know where the enemies are going to be coming from. So you can sit back, you know, hide behind that wall, peek out and shoot them as they're having to attack you. And you can then take those learnings into the other non-objective based game modes like Team Deathmatch or Free For All or Kill Confirmed, and you'll know where power points are, and you'll know where people are spawning from when your team is in a particular place. So once you get a little bit more confident with your gunplay skills, and maybe you get a little bit bored of domination and Kill Confirmed, sprinkle in Team Deathmatch 20 players, and Kill Confirmed. Now, a warning though, especially in Team Deathmatch, it can get very campy indeed. People will just sit inside buildings and wait for you to walk past and you can get shot. Kill confirmed is a little bit like team deathmatch on steroids, because when you shoot somebody, you need to go and capture their dog tag as well, so people have to move around the map a little bit more. But sometimes people do just sit back and watch dog tags and kill you, you know. So there we go. So the modes to play: objective based game modes, domination, and hardpoint. You'll notice that I've left off headquarters, search and headquarters and search and destroy, mainly because in those modes there's times in the game where you die and then you don't respawn in straight away. And I think one of the beauties of Call of Duty is that you're always in the action. You die, you get back in the action. That's why I think domination and hardpoint are better game modes to start off with, because you play more. Right, next up, let's talk about settings and controller setup. So let's go into, we kind of cover all of this in one thing. So let's look at my controller setup. And the really important thing about this is not my particular setup in and of itself. The important thing is that you stick with this setup that you have, the one that works for you, and don't imagine that by changing your setup you will get significantly better at Call of Duty. You won't. Okay, you can make slight changes that will improve you over time, but what will definitely happen is if you keep changing your setup around because you'll think you're chasing a perfect setup, you won't get any better. In fact, you'll probably get worse, because you'll be stuck trying to remember which button to press to do particular things. So once you've chosen a setup and it seems to work fairly okay, stick with that setup. So I use the default button layout. Stick layout is that way. Now I invert vertical look. Now I know that's not for everybody. If you're that sort of person, you'll know it already. Now my sensitivity is really low. It's down at 3. And I think if you're struggling with accuracy, do lower your sensitivity. If you're up around 5 or 6 or 7 or above and you're struggling to hit people, lower that stick sensitivity. And I'll show you why later on. But basically, the problem you'll have with Call of Duty often when you're missing people is that they'll be strafing left and right when they're shooting at you or jumping around, and you'll keep overcompensating and missing them. And by having a low sensitivity, you can track them easier. Now, there are some drawbacks to this. When they're very close, for example, you can't track them because you're aimed down sight and you can't move fast enough. And in that situation, you then stop aiming down sight and then you hip fire at them. Now, as you get better at the game and you get more confident with the aim, you'll get to a point, and this can take quite a while, where you're actually thinking, actually, I want to speed up a little bit now. I'm happy to speed up. But this will be after weeks of play. And then what you do, you move it up 1. And then what you do is you'll play with that sensitivity for weeks. You don't change it back again if you have a bad game. You play like that for weeks to get used to it again. Because what you're building in by changing these settings and sticking with them for a long time is you're building in the muscle memory into your fingers. You're literally making it second nature, where you're not having to think about what you're doing in terms of where you're aiming. You will just do it. Your hands will just do it. And that frees up your mind to think about the strategies and tactics you're going to be using to win that gunfight or win that game. So pick a setting and stick with it. So ADS sensitivity I have as 1, multiplier high zoom down as 1, aim response curve type I have as linear. What this means is that there isn't really any acceleration as I move my stick. So the idea is that if I push my stick all the way across and you have a different type of aim response curve, your crosshair will move faster. Okay, but by having it linear, what that rate of acceleration stays the same across the whole of the stick range. Now, do what works for you. If one of the other things like standard or dynamic works for you, use it and stick with it. But if you're having trouble going past targets too much and then having to correct back, try linear. Turn vibration off. You don't. It might be cool for immersion, but it's not cool. It can make you jump and stuff like that when you jump around corners. Aim assist, I use standard. I found this to be the best one, and there's been some testing by other YouTubers that have suggested it could be the best one. Weapon mount activation, ADS plus melee. So what that means is I have to pull the left trigger to aim down sight, and then I click in my right trigger and I'll lock onto that wall or that top of that drum or the top of that wall, and then, you know, almost all of the recoil is then taken away from your gun. You're exposing a smaller target of yourself, and you can take out enemies when they're attacking you. However, your movement is limited, but that's the way I do it. Weapon mount movement exit enabled, so that means as soon as I start moving, I unmount and start running around. Aim down sight behaviour, so this is on the left button. Again, it's hold, so I hold the left trigger to aim down sight. I've always done that. Equipment behaviour, hold, so press and hold to ready or cook lethal or tactical equipment. So this is when I'm going to throw a grenade, you know, I equip it and I hold it, and then it's cooking in my hand, and then I throw it so that it'll explode quicker when it lands on the target. I've always done it like that. It works for me. Reload, tap to reload. Again, I've always done it like this in Call of Duty, so when I need to reload a magazine, it's square on my controller, it'd be X on an Xbox, I'm on a PlayStation. Now, sometimes I understand that this can leave you in problems, for example, when you're going through doors, because you have to hold to go through a door, and you have to hold to use things. But I am used to that, and it works for me. And so I guess sometimes you might be in a situation where you're next to a door and you're trying to reload, and you might go through the door accidentally, or the other way around. You might want to go through a door and you might reload accidentally, but it works for me. Okay, so you could put on contextual, but I'd leave it as that. Depleted ammo weapon switch enabled, so this means when you run out of ammo, it flips to my other weapon. This is very useful if you're using a pistol, because as soon as your main weapon runs out, you'll whip your pistol out and carry on firing. I don't use a pistol, I use a rocket launcher, so it doesn't really work that much for me. Anyway, slide behaviour, hold, so press and hold while sprinting to slide. And what we're going to do is, when we're going to be moving around the door, around the maps, we're going to be sliding through doors sometimes. So again, this is something I like to do. Vehicle camera recenter is enabled, so that's it for the controller. And again, once you've got that work set up that works roughly okay for you, stick with it. Don't keep changing it. You end up giving yourself something called paralysis of choice, where you're having to think about what you've got to do, and you're like, or you've got to think about the controller method that works best for you, and that slows you down. So let's look at the general settings. Brightness 53. Now this is a debatable one, all right, but I've turned film grain back to the default settings. Now, you could argue that this makes it more difficult to see enemies, and that would be true, but I found the game looks a little bit better, and I'm willing to sacrifice some of my performance in terms of maybe not seeing some enemies sometimes by having a game that I think is more immersive. But if you want to perform better, turn film grain all the way down. Subtitles disabled, language English, colorblind mode disabled. I'm not colorblind. Again, world motion blur and weapon motion blur, it's a valid argument that having these disabled gives you a better opportunity to see enemies and equipment lying around the map, and for better performance in terms of kills and everything, definitely have them disabled. But again, recently I've gone back to having them on because I like the look of the game a little bit better. So I'm willing to make that sacrifice. But do what's worked for you. Tech chaff enabled. Parental field filter enabled. Dismemberment and gore effects enabled. Right, let's come over to audio. Audio is very, very, very important. So I use boost high. I found, and again, there's been some testing by other YouTubers, that boost high is probably one of the best ones for hearing footsteps coming, and hearing footstep coming is very, very important in this game. Master volume 100, music volume down to 50, dialogue down to 50, effects up at 100. The idea of this is that you can hear people coming over shout outs. Juggernaut music enabled, hitmarker sounds, modern warfare, voice chat, mute everyone at get the set party. When I'm playing a game, unless I'm playing with a friend in a party, I do not want to hear my teammates chattering away about how they've just fragged someone or how someone's cheating and all this sort of crap that people talk about. People very, very, very rarely give you constructive advice. Now, the exception to this is if you're playing gunfight 2v2, I would say don't do that. Have it on have it on enabled so you can hear your buddy, because then you can talk. If they offer constructive advice, he's like, hey, he's on the right or they're on the left and stuff like that, then carry on listening. If they just start swearing and say, oh, that guy's hacking or whatever, then just mute him. Open mic, recording and voice chat volume, these are all just at the defaults. So there we go. They are my settings and controller setup. Again, I know I've stressed this an awful lot, but with your settings, whether that be your audio settings and your visual settings, and especially your controller settings, pick your setting that works for you roughly and then stick with it. Don't keep changing it, because you'll do worse. Right, next up, let's talk about weapons loadouts. So here we go. 2 guns, I think, you should work on leveling up, and I think these are probably at the moment, sort of late November 2019, the best 2 guns in the game in lots of situations, and that is the MP5 and the M4A1, with the M4A1 being probably the gun to use in most situations. It's a good overall gun that's easy to use because you've got easy overall recoil. So let's see what I put on my M4. Now remember, you won't have all these attachments because you'll have to unlock them as you go along. But again, just like with the controller settings, when you've got your gun and you've put the attachments on it, stick with them to learn the characteristics of that gun, how it handles, how it feels, how quickly you can lock onto targets, all that sort of stuff. Don't keep changing attachments for the sake of it, because you won't get to know your gun. So the first attachments I put on, the 1mW laser. This improves your hip fire accuracy, and there's no downside to this, so that's why I throw that one on. I'll leave the optic till last. Under barrel, I use the Merc foregrip because this helps me with hip fire accuracy. So that means that if I bump into someone and we're close and I'm just hip firing, I'll have to be more accurate, and it helps me with recoil control, so the gun will bounce less when I am aiming at targets at medium to long range. The downside to this is that my aim down sight speed is slightly slower, and my aim walking speed, so when I'm kind of strafing around, aim down sights will be slower, but I'm willing to put up with those. The rear grip, the stippled grip tape. So what this does is this helps me with my aim down sight speed, so I can aim faster, and my sprint to fire speed. So you know when you're sprinting and your gun isn't out, this stipple grip helps that to be faster. The downside is my aiming stability isn't as good, but aiming stability is just when you're looking down the sight before you fire, and being a fully automatic weapon, as soon as you start firing, recoil kicks in anyway, and so aiming stability for me doesn't really matter. On a sniper rifle, aiming stability is very important, so you probably wouldn't use this grip, but for an AR, fully auto AR, SMG, perfect. And the perk, sleight of hand, so important, this one, the ability to reload faster. If I say to you now, how many times have you been killed while you've been reloading in Call of Duty, you'll probably say loads. It's probably the most common cause of death, that's easily avoidable. You shoot someone, you start reloading, someone else comes around the corner and shoots you. Okay, maybe you shouldn't have chosen to start reloading at that time, but with sleight of hand, you'll reload, in most cases, a third faster, maybe even half the speed, in half the time you would, which is a lifesaver. Trust me, it is very, very important. So sleight of hand, definitely use this one. And the final attachment, which I've left till last, is the optic, because I understand that optics can be very personal for people, but again, pick the optic that works for you and stick with it. For me, I really enjoy using the Cronin optic. Now this is a 3.5 times magnification optic, which is huge for general use. I mean, it really is. It's like something you would put on a DMR or a sniper rifle. But with the larger maps in Modern Warfare, I've found I super enjoy using this long-range optic to try and get chest and headshot kills out of people. And then what I do is that I then rely on the increased hip-fire accuracy of this gun, because I've used the laser and the Merc foregrip, so that when I'm close to people I can rely on hip-fire and not aiming down sights. However, again, you may want to go with iron sights if that's what you prefer, or go for a hollow or a reflex, you know, something that, or a red dot, something like that. The thing I would say to avoid are things like the flip hybrid, or something like the integral hybrid. They're a really good idea, and for more advanced players they can be very powerful. The problem is though, is that when you're learning the game and trying to get better, having to flip between scopes, you've got to aim down sight and you've got to press the button to make it change scopes, is another thing to slow you down, and another thing that you've got to think about. So I think you're better off going for a fixed scope, like I do with the and in my case it's the Cronin, but I understand for you it may just be a red dot or a hollow, so you know, so that's fine. Secondary rocket launcher, very important I think to shoot down enemy UAVs and enemy personal radars. Yeah, it's the thing to use. If you're in a situation where you're taking someone on medium to long range and they're in a building behind cover shooting at you from a window, you fire at them a couple of times, you send a rocket through that window, and the splash damage from the rocket will take them out. If the enemy has enemy Wilsons, you know, those things, that those little remote control tanks, you can use the pillar to take that out. If the enemy has remote control turrets, you can take them out. If they've got normal hard turrets, the shield turret, you can use the pillar to take them out. Very useful in lots of situations. Reload speed can be very low, but yeah, for me it's a no-brainer. You know, I always go with a rocket launcher because I guess I would consider it a kind of a team weapon. You know, the things you destroy with a pillar are going to help your team. You know, when a VTOL jet comes in, or a support chopper, or a door gunner chopper, a chopper gunner comes in, you know, fire a couple of pillar rockets at it, blast it with your machine gun, or if you die, fire another couple of pillar rockets at it. You can take that kill streak out and do your team a massive favour. Perks, without a doubt, EOD. This makes you take less damage from explosives. So when people when you rock around a corner and you run through a claymore, you don't die. Most of the time you won't die from those proximity mines, and trophy system as well, and that's quite important, because the trophy system, even if it's a friendly one, can hurt you. You can also hack enemy claymores as well. I think you can hack enemy mines. So when you get close to one, you'll see a little thing come on the screen that says hack, and it takes a few seconds to do, but you can change that from an enemy claymore to a friendly claymore, and that can be really cool. You know, if you've got a sniper in a building and you don't want to challenge that sniper, maybe you've tried before and he's got a shotgun as well, you could always go up, hack his claymore that he's using to defend the stairs, fire a couple of rounds off, he comes running out, thinks it's a friendly claymore, runs through it and dies. So EOD, very important. Ghost. Now, for me, Ghost, undetected by UAVs, radar drones and heartbeat sensors. Mainly the UAVs and radar drones are the things we're worrying about. Now, as far as I understand that the way this works, and I haven't seen any definitive videos about this yet, is that Ghost works, so you don't appear on the minimap when a UAV up is, or a personal radar, when you're moving. Okay, if you stop in a corner, you will appear. That's normally how it works in Call of Duty. Now, I haven't seen evidence to the otherwise, but it could be that even if you stop, even if you're moving, it could be that it works even if you're stopped, but I would doubt that. So do be careful. You know, you can't. I don't think you can use Ghost just to sit in a corner and camp. You know, after a couple of seconds, you do appear. You have to move at a certain speed. But Ghost, very important. Battle hardened. Now, what this perk does is it reduces the strength of enemy flashes and stuns. And if you're playing an objective-based mode like Kill Point or Domination, you're gonna be on a flag, and not only the enemy going to be throwing stuns and flashes at you, your teammates are going to be lobbing them around as well. And that extra second or so you get with Battle Hardened, when you can actually you recover and you can see I have got so many kills defending hard points or flags in domination, or even just power positions in team deathmatch. You're in a building, somebody throws a stun in, you get a little bit your screen goes white and you lose sound, but then your vision comes back just as they're running in, expecting to see you staggering around, and you kill them, and it is great. Now, lethal Semtex. I know you guys probably love running around putting claymores down. Yeah, don't get me wrong, they're good. You can put them through doors, put them next to objectives, put them next to flags, put them at the entrances to hard points, and you would get the odd kill. However, they're a defensive weapon, I think, the claymore. And the Semtex you can use as a defensive and an offensive weapon as well, because it's a sticky grenade. So let me give you a couple of examples. So let's say you want to capture a hard point, but you know people are inside there. So the way that you capture a hard point, if people are in there, you've got to clear them off first, haven't you? So when you throw an ordinary frag grenade in, it can hit a wall and bounce back and bounce around, and not necessarily be where you want, which probably is in the middle of the hard point or on the middle of the domination flag. With the Semtex grenade, you lob it towards the centre of the room and it will just stick on the floor and stay there, and it will go beep 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 beep, and it will kill anybody who's near or badly damage them, so you can then smoke the room or rush in and kill them. The other really cool thing that happens with Semtex is you can throw it in, and if you hit somebody, it'll stick to them and you get a stuck medal, and sometimes they'll run around into their teammates and you'll get like double kills and triple kills off it. So it's good for that. It's also really good for defending flags when you're not on top of them. So imagine like at Ramaza, where you're defending, say, the B flag, but you're on the right hand side on the scaffolding looking down on the B flag. If somebody smokes the B flag and then jumps onto it, if you throw a frag grenade, often what will happen is that frag grenade will then bounce off somewhere else, and it can go anywhere. With the Semtex, you throw it at the flag and it will stick exactly where you throw it, and then it will kill the person. So I found the Semtex incredibly powerful, incredibly useful, and I would recommend that as what you should use. Tactical smoke grenade. Absolutely. The smoke grenade is your tool for capturing flags in domination and capturing hard points in hardpoint. My recommended technique for capturing a flag is always, as you're approaching the flag, you throw a smoke on it, the smoke goes off, you dive, go prone on the flag if it's that sort of flag, or in the hard point, and it will save you from people at distance won't be able to shoot you, even people up close won't be able to see you, they've got to get really close to you, and it'll save your ass. It'll enable you to get that flag. Obviously it'll clear, it normally just clears just as you're capturing the flag. In that situation, you're going to die. It's very useful for that. Also, if there's enemies on the flag, I don't always recommend jumping into a hot situation, but especially in hard point, when there's enemies on the hard point, you can smoke it, you can get in. As soon as you're in on that hard point, they stop earning points, because they then need to neutralise you to then capture the hard point again. But by smoking it, you can get in there, you can stop the capturing points, it gives your teammates a chance to come in, and remember, while you're on a flag or in a hard point, if your teammates are throwing grenades in, they won't damage you. You can't friendly fire people with grenades. You can kill yourself with your own grenade, so you can be in there in the smoke neutralising that hard point, and your enemies are lobbing grenades in and killing the enemy. So smoke grenade, very important. Now they take a little bit getting used to smoke grenades, because they have a range to them, and it's easy to throw a smoke grenade too far, but with practice, very good. Right, let's have a look. Field upgrades next. Trophy system. Once you've got this unlocked, this is the baby for hardpoint and helps quite a lot in domination too. So what the trophy system does is it neutralizes any projectiles that are fired near it. So classic ones, obviously, grenades, Semtex, smoke grenades, anything like that. Imagine you're on the hard point. The enemies are coming along. The first thing you do, what do? They try and throw smoke at the hard point. They try and throw grenades into the hard point, Molotovs. This thing will shoot them down and neutralise them, and you earn points for that as well. So that's really cool. So then they go, oh, that's a bit crap. So then they start firing rockets in there. This thing will neutralise rockets. Now, I think it only has 3 or 4 rounds in it before it disappears. But it does the cooldown's quite fast on it, so you do get another one pretty quick. If you're on an open flag or an open hard point, this thing shoots down cruise missiles as well. Yeah, I mean, that's amazing. You know, say you're on playing hardpoint on Grasna Raid, and you're in the hardpoint that's on the in the trenches. That's a classic point. You get on the hardpoint, you then hear enemy cruise missile incoming. Dead easy. You've got one of these things. It shoots down the cruise missile before it kills you all. Fantastic piece of kit. Now the catch is that normally you're probably used to using the munitions box. Because you're running out of ammo. But one of the beautiful things about Modern Warfare is that as you're killing enemies and you run over their weapons, if they've got the same ammunition in their gun that you have in yours, you get their ammo. So pretty quick you can end up with lots of ammo. The only time you don't do is normally when you're hanging back and shooting people. But all of the times for the objective-based game modes where you're capturing flags and defending them, trophy system is the way to go. Just remember, when you're playing Team Deathmatch or Kill Confirmed, go back to the munitions box or something like that. Or if you're playing a role in Domination or Kill Confirmed where you're not capturing flags or playing the objective because you're going around, say, killing the players or preventing players getting onto the flag, you know, that's a valid way of playing. And then go back to the munitions box. But all other times, the trophy system is the way to go. Now, kill streaks. Kill streaks. Always go for the easiest kill streaks to get, right? Because then you'll earn them, and they are useful. So we're talking about the personal radar, because knowing where the enemies are, pretty good. Also, if they've got to shoot it down, one, they're looking up in the air to shoot it down. They'll use some ammunition, and it will slow them down anyway. They won't be able to attack you quite as fast. Cruise missile, dead easy to control. You can use it from the back of the map and hit someone at the other end of the map without having to go up there and use like a laser pointer or a pair of binoculars to point them out. And you know, you can normally get one kill with it. Just remember, when it's coming in, if it's a circle, they're out in the open, you can kill them. If they're across, you won't be able to see them. If they're running ghost, pretty sure you won't be able to see them either. Or it might be or might be cold-blooded, you won't be able to see them. But you will be able to see them running around. You just won't see the red circle or the cross by them. So use that. And then the final one, which is the one you get with 4 kills, is the care package. Now the care package does have a bit of a catch in the fact that, you know, you need to go to the back of the map away from the enemies and then throw the flare down, and then a helicopter will come over. Make sure that when you do that, there's nothing above. You're not like at the back of the map on Hackney Yard where there's the railway going over the top, because the care package will land on the railway and you'll never get it. Or somewhere where it will land on the buildings to one side. Make sure it's got a clear line of sight to the sky. And the really cool thing about the care package, I think, is that it's fun. Sure, you might get a personal radar, you might get a UAV, and you might get, you know, a cruise missile or a cluster strike or a precision airstrike, you know, the fairly mundane kill streaks. But you might get an IAV, you might get the tank if you're playing on one of the 20-man maps, you might get the sentry gun, you might get the Wheelson, you know, you might get a VTOL, you might get White's Phosphorus, you might get a chopper gunner. And I mean, they're very, very rare, these ones. Like, you're talking 1 in 100 for a gunship or an advanced UAV, and I've never had a Juggernaut come in a care package. And it's probably about 1 in 90 for a chopper gun and stuff like that. But they're fun. You never know what you're going to get. It's a roll of the dice, and you might get something very, very useful. Don't stand underneath it, though. It will kill you if it lands on top of you that way. Right, okay. So, we talked a little bit about audio before, didn't we? And I just want to stress how important the audio is in this game. You could argue that COD Modern Warfare 2019 is biased towards defense, and so the player that's moving is at a disadvantage because you can hear them coming, and that's why you need to have your headphones on, you have to have your headset on, and you have to have the volume turned up, not to an uncomfortable level, but have it turned up loud. If you can hear people coming, running that is, you will do so much better. And at first it'll be quite difficult because you won't be able to judge how far they are, how close they are to you when they come around corners. But again, pick a volume level that's loud but comfortable. We don't want to damage in your hearing, and you'll gradually get used to it, and you'll be able to start to predict exactly when someone is running around a corner or creeping around a corner, and you'll be able to start pre-firing. So when you start getting very advanced, pre-firing is very important because you know where someone is. You start firing at them before you see them, so that when you see them, your bullets are already entering them. So if you're not using headphones or a headset and the volume isn't that loud, say you're listening to music or something at the same time, don't put those headphones on. It'll put you at a massive advantage. Right, so before we go on to the next part, where we're going to be talking a little bit more about maps and things, I just want to talk about how you can stay abreast of the game as well. This is my 5th tip, and to be honest, one of the best YouTubers that you can watch to stay abreast of changes in Call of Duty Modern Warfare is the exclusive Ace. I'll put a link down below to his channel, and what's great about Ace is that he'll do videos like lines of sight videos. So he'll take a map, say like the Gunrunner map, and he'll show you all the cool places where you can go to keep an eye on the B flag or keep an eye on the C flag safely without getting shot, how to look through that window without getting shot. All these things that you can then take to the multiplayer and experiment with. He does gun videos where he'll take a gun and he'll say, look, if you're using this gun, these are the best attachments to use with it. He'll tell you which the best guns are. He'll give you tactics and strategies to use, and when there are changes to the game, patches and things like that, he will then go over them, and he might say, well, actually the M4, it's been, I mean, it hasn't happened yet, but the M4's been nerfed. It's been reduced in power. So maybe you want to look at like the maybe look at something like the Kilo 141. Now, I'm not saying that's the case yet, but that's the sort of thing he does. Now, do bear in mind, however, that lots of YouTubers who are into Call of Duty, they're not that fond of COD Modern Warfare, because as I said, this is a game that is balanced towards defensive play, and lots of YouTubers really enjoy offensive play, so running and gunning, running around, getting lots of kills, getting lots of impressive kill streaks, and you can't really do that in Modern Warfare that much because people hear you coming and they shoot you. Unfortunately, that's what happens, and so even Exclusive Ace can be a bit negative about Modern Warfare. Don't let that put you off. Trust me, this is the best Call of Duty in many, many years and the best Call of Duty of this generation. But the advice he gives you is 100% brilliant. And if there's only one Call of Duty YouTuber you watch regularly, go and subscribe to the Exclusive Ace, watch his stuff. And then there's guys like Drifter as well, who does good work. But we haven't got all the time in the world, have we? So go and listen to Exclusive Ace. Right, so that's enough for the first half of this guide. What we're going to do now is we're going to jump on and we're going to talk about basic movement around the map and other cool stuff. Actually, before we go any further, I've just remembered I didn't talk to you about the other weapon that I recommend you think about using, which is the MP5. So whereas the M4A1 is a jack of all trades, really, it's okay up close, it's good at medium range, it's okay at longer ranges. The MP5 is very good at close range and is okay at medium range and not very good at long range. So it's a useful weapon, and it's a nice alternative to have in your arsenal. I wouldn't really recommend playing with any other guns to start off with. Stick with these two. So let's have a look. Everything else in terms of my perks, my lethal, my tactical, it's all the same. So it's just really the gunsmith part of the MP5 we'll look at. And surprise, surprise, a lot of this is very similar to what I put on my M4. We put the 1 milliwatt laser on because that gives us improved hip fire accuracy, and in close quarters we're probably going to be doing a lot of hip fire accuracy. We've got the Merc foregrip. This thing makes my hip fires even more accurate, so that's great again for up close. And recoil control, so when I'm trying to engage targets at longer ranges, you know, medium range, I can hang on to that recoil and probably hit them a little bit better. The stippled grip tape, again, this is so that my aim down sight speed is nice and fast, and my sprint to fire speed, so when you're sprinting with your gun not up and then you stop sprinting, it will be faster using that. Of course, sleight of hand for reload. The MP5 is incredibly slow at reloading before you put this on, so stick that on. And then I put the FSS close quarter stock on for fast aim down sight speed, and I lose a bit of aiming stability. But what you will notice is that I don't bother with an optic. I kind of like running the MP5 like this, you know, it's a submachine gun. I'm running around fast, I'm sliding around corners, I'm jumping over walls, and an optic would kind of get in the way. So there we go, so that's my MP5. Big disadvantage with the MP5 is also one of its great strengths is its incredibly fast fire rate, which means that if you're playing Dom or hard point, and you're running with the trophy system upgrade, you may well find yourself running out of ammunition fairly quickly unless you kill people close and run over them and pick up their ammo, so watch out for that one. But anyway, there's my MP5, so let's get on to the next section of the video, which is going to be all about learning maps and that sort of stuff. Right, let's crack on. Okay, so in the next section of our building blocks video, I want to talk about learning the maps by yourself. We're going to talk about some basic movement, building twitch skills, and how to capture flags and hard points. So what we want to do, we want to go down to private match. We want to go to local game. I just need to change my field upgrade to trophy. Excuse me. Change my loadout, so I've got, that's good. So how can you learn the maps by yourself? Well, it's very simple. We're going to create a local game, and we're going to set the game up, and we're going to learn, what do you reckon? How about Ramaza? This is a bit of a maze of a map, isn't it? We're going to learn Ramaza. Mode doesn't matter. In fact, no, it does. We're going to put in domination, and we're going to have no bots. We're just going to start the game. And what I want you to do is, over the next few days, next few weeks, every day, just do this with every map. Just create a local game with no bots on it, and just load in. And what you can do is you can just wander around, and you can discover things. Now, remember, the mobility you have in Call of Duty Modern Warfare is dependent on the weapon you're carrying. So if you're carrying, we'll wait for the rather noisy bit of the game to get past. Here we go. So if you're carrying an assault rifle, you won't be able to run or jump quite as far as if you're carrying a submachine gun or a pistol. So as you can see, here I am. There goes a friendly helicopter, and we have now got the entire map to ourselves to explore, to look at lines of sight down to the B flag, across to that Overwatch position there. You can have a go at jumping off things. Do you die? What can you climb on top of? How do you get across? Here's a so if we climb, for example, there, what we could have done there is if we get on top of there, should be able to I can't quite get on top of that one. But if we go round here, you know, we can jump on here, we can jump on here, we can jump across to here, we can get through this. You know, discover all these little routes around the map. So, dead easy. Okay, so next thing. Basic movement around the map. So, let's get to the C flag, where you see if you spawn down here. So, how should you be moving around the map? What's the building block for moving around the map? And the essence to this, to move safely around the map, just close that door, is to try and lock down lines of sight. So that means long distances to where enemies could be. Move round the edges of the map. Peek corners where you can, and windows. Move fast where necessary, and then slow down when you think you're near to enemies. And probably most important of all, use a technique called centering. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slowly move around this map, and you can see what, and I'm going to try and talk about what I'm thinking about. So we've spawned in down here near the C flag. I think you normally spawn in here, don't you? Like this. And if you look in the centre of the screen, that's where my crosshairs are. That's where I'm going to shoot. Or if I aim down sight, that's where I'm going to be. So as you're moving, you always want to be keeping those crosshairs where enemies could be. So if I decide to go through this door here, I just want to be keeping my crosshairs approximately where the upper chest and head of an enemy would be. Right, now when we get to this point, when you get to know the map, you'll know there's a door over there, isn't there? Is there a door over there? Yeah, there is. So that's where an enemy could be. So as I'm starting to come to here, I want to be thinking about moving my crosshairs so they're over that door. And if that's where I'm heading to, see, I'm trying to keep my crosshairs always aware always over where that is. Now, as we come to this point, we know there's some stairs there and another door there. There's a passageway about there, and I think there's another entrance there. So as we come around here, we need to be careful. So what you'd probably do is tuck in tight, look up there, is anybody there? And then when you get to this sort of position, you can do something like this. You kind of look and come back, look and come back. That way, if somebody's there, you can get on them. If there was somebody there, you can get on them. Now let's say, okay, so we get to this point. If we were to try and go up here, this is quite a dangerous place to be, because we could have someone looking over there, we could have someone coming out of there. There's a place here as well. People can come down from here, look around this corner. So obviously when you come out of here, you wouldn't go up there. You'd be considering going up here. So we come out of here. As we're coming to here, we're moving our crosshairs round so they're covering the door. So if someone comes through that door, we can fire at them. Now when you get to doors, you've got a couple of choices. You can just hold square, or I guess it's X on the Xbox, and open it. Or if you go through it fast, you'll just bash it open. Be quite noisy as well. The other thing you do, if you come up to the door and aim down sight, you can peek the door and you can look through it. Not very good in this case because we can't see anything, but then you could throw a stun grenade or something and open it nice and quietly. So if we compare those, let's compare those sounds. So compare that sound to, and then pushing the door open. Much quieter, isn't it? But if you were defending this position and you were, say, here behind this little bit of cover, you could shoot me very easily. So an option would definitely be sprint, slide, and then blam, like that. Okay, getting a bit aggressive. So we come through here. Now as we're coming through this door here, obviously there's a door there we've got to keep up, but let's say we want to go up there. So as we're coming around, we start to move our crosshair up to there to cover that person. Now someone could be up there, so again as we're coming up here, we want to be thinking about turning around and covering that door there. As we come to here, obviously there's this, we could get an eye on there. So again, we come around, right, get an eye on there. There's another door down there, so there's the other door. So we just keep an eye on there. And let's say we decide to come out of here, go down here. You see, I'm trying to stick to the sides of the map, because the field of view you have in Modern Warfare is actually quite small. And if you stick to the sides of the map, say here, you'd be very surprised. Anybody who comes around this corner, they won't see me. See, I'm not in their field of view at all if I'm over there. If someone is up here, and they're posted up here, that, you know, there's no way they're going to see me over here. The only person who might see me, if someone was coming around here and covering this angle, they'd then see me there. So we're sticking to the sides of the map. Now when you get to corners, again, these are critical things. Again, you've got to be ready to fire and shoot. And the wrong way to do it would be, say I was keeping my crosshair there. If somebody jumps out there, I'm just going to hit the wall, aren't I? No point in that. I want to be keeping my crosshairs where the enemy's going to be. And so I'm using a combination of left stick, you know, moving backwards and forwards, right stick to turn, and left stick side to side to strafe, to keep my crosshairs where the enemies could be. So again, we're coming to here. Now this is a corridor here, and then down there there's like a wall. So again, someone could be peeking that wall, so we'd be coming out like that to see where they are. In fact, they would be there, wouldn't they? Just to check them that way. Always keeping those crosshairs where the enemy could be, like this kind of thing. Now as we're coming down here, this is where the enemy spawn would be. So again, it would be coming to here, keeping an eye on there. Now let's talk a quick bit about speed. Speed is your friend, but it also is your enemy in the fact that it makes you noisier. But if you knew that there was someone, say you'd had a UAV up and you could see somebody on the mini-map here, sitting here, your first option would be throw a sticky grenade around the corner, but the other option is to sprint, slide, and blat them like that. And that can work sometimes. If they've got a mate over here, though, you know, that could be a bit of a problem that way. Now, when you're moving around the map in Modern Warfare as well, you can mount your gun. So as you come up to walls, if you click in the right stick, you kind of hang on to the wall, and that gets rid of a lot of recoil, and you can even reload while you're on. And almost any flat surface you can mount your gun on to have a really stable surface. And you can even do things like this where you're popping up and down depending on the size of the wall. Now, what we're going to look at next is how you can now build your Twitch skills by playing against bots. So what we're going to do, let's quit out of this game. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to set up this bot match. So let's have a look. Game setup. We're going to choose one of the gunfight maps. I quite like Hill as a one. Team deathmatch. Bot setup. We're just going to have 4 enemy bots, and we're going to put them down to recruit. Now, 4 might be too many. You might want to start with 3. Then, as you get better at this, you add more and more bots against you. But I'm going to have 4 because that's a little bit challenging. Bot difficulty is recruit, no friendly bots. Game rules, what you need to do is go over to gameplay, go into spawn ammo mags and have that at maximum. That's really important. And that should be it. Oh, one more game rule actually. We want to do it so that the radar is always on. There we go. Weapon pings, radar always on. Constant. Okay, because we want to see where the enemies are, because this is also going to teach us a little bit about mini-map awareness. Now, mini-map awareness is making sure you look up in the left-hand corner every now and again to see where enemies might be if someone's got a UAV up, and also look up at the compass in the middle, because the compass in the middle has red blotches on where enemies are firing, so you can see where they are. Well, where they are, somewhere in the distance in that direction. And always remember, when you're looking at the mini-map in a real game, where the friendlies are, the blue dots, that's where the enemies aren't. So if you look at the arc on the circle of where the friendlies are, you know, they'll be around a certain arc of the minimap. The arc that's blank, if there's no UAV up, that's where the enemies are going to be. So, you know, you can flank round and take them on that way. Right, so anyway, let's jump in and let's kill some bots. And again, this is all about just hitting moving targets. It's not about trying to simulate a real game against real players. All we're doing here is building up our Twitch muscle memory skills. That's all it is. You know, we're not trying to challenge ourselves in terms of intelligence. It's just, can we build up those muscle memory skills to just keep killing these bots one after the other without getting killed ourselves? And you'd be surprised how, you know, you will get better and better. Here they come. Ooh, see? So there you go. See, on a small map, they can be quite challenging. Right, let's take this a bit more seriously. Now, when you're doing this as well, remember to consider you've got your aim down sight and you've got your fire. And when you're centering, you know, we talked about moving our crosshair around. What we want to do is when you see an enemy, you want to put your crosshairs on them first if they're at range, and you're almost pressing both buttons at the same time, you know, pulling both triggers. But you must have your crosshair over the target. Now, if you're slightly off when you aim down sight, you can drag it back on, just like I did there. And when you're up close, you're just going to hip fire. And this is just a really simple drill. See how long you can stay alive. Just shooting bots. That one with the shotgun's a bit dangerous, tell you. He's really got it in for me, that one. Got you, Ed. What guns are you using? Yeah, he's got the shotgun. Shotguns. It would be nice if there was an option to make sure bots didn't have shotguns. There we go. So, hopefully that will give you an idea that if you do this every day, just for like 20 minutes, maybe swap out the maps to different maps and slowly start to increase the number of bots, you'll be surprised at how quick you get better at taking out multiple targets at once, but also in general your Twitch skills will then improve. Right, so next we're going to look at how to capture flags and hardpoints and how to defend them. Okay, so here I am on Hackney Yard, all on my Lawson, on a nice domination map, but it gives us the opportunity to show you how to capture flags. So, depending on which order you want to capture the flags on, will depend on what you do right at the beginning. I'd recommend, when you first start off, you know, always capture the home flags, because it gives you some points. Make sure you completely catch it, and then go for the B flag. When you become a little bit more confident, straight off the bat at the beginning of the game, go for the B flag. And what you do is you would run up, bop, 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 and it's really just a race against time to see who can get onto the B flag first. And when you get to the B flag, what you're going to do is you're going to throw a smoke onto the B flag. So throw a smoke, it's going to go psh, and say here, you can tuck, say right in there, and you can cover there, and cover someone running out here. Unfortunately, if someone comes around that corner, they're going to kill you. But if you stay there, you're going to be alright.
We've got control.
Now, if you're in a situation, however, whereby you've got an enemy flag to capture, so let's say we kept on trying to capture the B flag and we couldn't get it, and we had the C, you know, they were locking it down. We thought, right, let's go and capture the A flag. So one of the things you would do is, let's go around here, is I'm going to show you how to use smoke, and then we're going to use our trophy system. So let's say we're coming around here and we're going to go around here, and there's the flag there. So first things first, we're going to throw the smoke, we're going to get on the flag, and then we're going to put the we're going to put our trophy system down. Now, a cool thing about A actually here is that you can do this.
We are taking Alpha.
And you can create a little shield for yourself. So let's say we were coming up. So we come round here and we go, right, so we get our smoke out, we toss it into there, we throw our trophy system down, and we tuck ourselves behind these doors. And what would be happening there is this little beauty will be defending our flag from the enemy when they come charging in and start throwing grenades to try and kill me. Now, in domination, often what happens is once you've got the flag, you get off the flag, don't you? Because you don't get any more points for being on the flag. I mean, you get points for killing people who are on the flag, or killing people who are on the flag, but you don't have to stay on it. On hard point, you must. You don't have to, but if you want to earn maximum points for you and your team, you have to stay on the flag. And for example, in hardpoint, if you're very behind, you know, if your team's behind, if you can get like the whole team on the hard point, you'd be surprised. You know, just with one hard point, you can get loads of points and get back into the game. Now, let's say we were defending this flag. Let's say we'd kind of come up here, saying we were defending here, and someone was to jump onto the flag, right? And let's say they even did what we did and they smoked it. This is where the Semtex grenade comes in, because with the Semtex grenade, when you throw it, see where it stays there, because it doesn't roll off and bounce around like a frag grenade. You can just lob it on and it will kill anybody on there. And you can see if they'd had a trophy system here, that would have shot that grenade out of the air and they would have been safe. So that's a basic way of capturing flags. So what we're going to do now is let's talk about strategies for your gameplay. And it's very important, I think, to have a strategy. Even in team deathmatch and free-for-all, have an idea of what you want to do. In domination, you kind of have a few different basic strategies you can follow. The first one is capture your home flag, and then capture the neutral flag in the middle, and then try and hold it. Or you could sprint up and try and capture the B flag, the neutral flag, and hold it. Or you could have a role where you say, well, actually, I'm not going to get involved in capturing flags, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure the enemy can't get to the B flag to try and capture it. So you may well flank around, you know, and think, right, how are people going to try and get on the B flag? Well, we know they're coming from over there, so we're going to come round and we're going to try and, you know, cover here, or maybe, I mean, there's loads and loads of places. If you could push all the way up to here, you could cover people coming in there. A bit dangerous there because people come around. You probably want to come around and plonk yourself there, but stop people going onto the B flag this way, stopping them sliding through, climbing up there, and cutting off these lines of attack. And although you won't be getting any points for capturing flags, you'll be helping your team to win because the enemy won't be able to capture flags and get in that way. Another role you might want to have in domination is you might say, actually, my role is going to be always to try and get the enemy flag. So I'm always going to push to their spawn and I'm going to try and capture it. And the reason why you want to do that is to break their attacks up. As I said, there could be in a situation where the enemies have the B flag and you can't get it off them. So you come up and you capture their flag. So they've got to then think about coming and taking this flag again. That will often lead to something called a spawn flip, where the enemies will start spawning down on your flag on C, and they will then capture it. But that will then probably give you enough time to come over and capture the B flag like that. Now, if you're playing something like Hardpoint, again, you've got similar different roles you can do. You can say, actually, my role in this Hardpoint game is going to be always to run to the first hardpoint, hang around on the hard point until there's about 10 seconds to go, and then I'm going to sprint to where the next hard point is. And I'm going to stay there as far as I can to 10 seconds to go and sprint to the next hard point. You know, that's the role you're going to do. You're going to be like the spearhead of your team. Or you could say, actually, I'm going to be the rear guard. I'm going to get to the hard point, I'm going to try and capture it, and I'm going to stay on the hard point. If we don't capture the hard point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hang around the hard point, and I'm going to shoot the enemy as they come off the hard point to give my teammates time to get to the fresh hard point. And then I'm going to try and get to the hard point. Or you could say, actually, my role is going to be purely to kill the enemies as they're trying to get to the hard point. So if this was a hard point, I'm not going to get on it. We've captured it. Or even if we haven't captured it, I'm going to sort of post up over somewhere like this and kill enemies as they come off spawn and try and get to the hard point. So there's all sorts of things you want to do, but just think about those things and then do them and have a little plan and then follow them up. Now, you don't have to follow the whole plan for the entire game. Obviously, you mix it up a bit. And as you're doing this, you'll start to understand how spawns work as well. And this is another reason why we go with, especially domination, because you'll start to understand that, when you and your team are at this end of the map, the enemies are going to be spawning down on C. If all your team around B, the enemies are going to be at A or C. And this is the clever bit. When you spawn somewhere, that also tells you where the enemies are. So if you die and you spawn here, the enemies are down there somewhere. But, because that's like a normal spawn, if you spawn somewhere unusual, let's say you were to spawn here, that would be unusual. That then there must be enemies there, and there must be enemies there, because the game has been forced to spawn you here, because it will always try and spawn you away from enemies so you don't get shot straight away. But that's a little bit more advanced. So then you can you can work on that as you go along, as you start to understand the game more. Okay, so we're into the last few building blocks for becoming better at multiplayer now, and this is just a short one, but watching the kill cam. So when you're playing the game and you get killed, don't immediately respawn again. Watch the kill cam, watch how you got killed. Just bear in mind the kill cam isn't always a completely accurate representation of what happened from the other person's point of view. So if you see yourself standing out in the middle, or you're getting shot behind a wall or something like that, take that with a pinch of salt, and that's because of the way that the game engine works, and it can't always record things properly from both points of view. However, when you do get killed, if you see a good play, where someone got you with a really good shot, or maybe they slid around a corner or did something really cool, acknowledge that. GG, God, that was a good shot, mate, well done. Give them credit for what they've done, and that will make you feel less bad about getting killed, and it'll also encourage you maybe to try that yourself in the future. Also, think about what you could have done differently in that situation to avoid getting killed. Now, there'll be lots of times where there's nothing you could have done. You were just outplayed, or you were hit by a cruise missile or something like that. But a lot of times there might be, actually, maybe I was poking my head out a little bit. Maybe I shouldn't have been in the middle there. Maybe I should have used that smoke grenade on that flag when I went in to capture it. Maybe I should have peeked that corner a little bit slower. Maybe I should have looked at the mini-map when I was running around so I could tell where the enemies were. And just acknowledge that and use the kill cam as that tool. Next, this is tip 13. Knowing what good actually is. Because this video is all about building blocks, becoming a better player, but what does it mean by becoming a better player in Call of Duty? What does it mean? Does it mean you win more matches? Does it mean you have a higher KD ratio? Does it mean you have more points per minute? But as a beginner, I think what you want to aim for is just being in the top half of your team in your lobby. So, if you're playing a 6v6, if you can get in the top 3 of your team in that lobby, that is good. That means you're better than average. And remember, if you're playing team deathmatch when you're killing people, it's all about kills, isn't it? But when you're playing domination and hardpoint, it's about capturing flags and holding hardpoints, not about getting kills. And so often you do that. If you shoot down loads of UAVs, you'll get lots of points and you'll find yourself in the top. So if it's a 10v10, you know, if you're in the top 5 of your side of the lobby, you know, so your team can lose, but you could be in the top 5 of a 10v10, and that's good. And if it's a 6v6, if you're in the top 3 of your side of the lobby, that's good. And for me, that's what good is. Then as you get better and better at the game, you can challenge yourself and say, actually, I think what's good is when I'm at the top of my lobby. But not now. You know, that's in a few months' time. You just get in the top half of your side of the lobby. And with Call of Duty, you know, point 14, it's all about playing lots. This is what's going to get you better. You know, if you play the game a lot, you'll start to get to know it better. You'll start to get your weapons better, and then the movement and the flow and the different tactics involved, the different strategies that work, and you'll get better. However, if you do start to feel yourself doing worse, you know, stop, you know, slow down, reconsider what you're doing, maybe what game mode you're using, what tactics you're using, and go back and maybe do some practicing. Or maybe it's because you're getting frustrated and you're not having fun. And that's my final point, point 15. When you're playing Call of Duty multiplayer, it should be fun. When it stops being fun, you're probably getting a bit burnt out, and at that point, play a different mode. You know, go and play some 2v2 gunfight, go and play some 32 versus 32 ground war, play a bit of free-for-all, play a bit of gun game for a laugh, play some Spec Ops, play the campaign. Or, how about this, stop playing Call of Duty altogether and go and play PUBG or Battlefield, or, you know, a completely different game, some Dota or some Walking Dead, an adventure game, a fantasy game, a card game. Turn your console off and go off and, you know, have some fresh air. And then come back to it in a couple of days' time or a couple of hours' time, and you'll feel fresher, you'll feel hungrier to once again put into place these building blocks to make you become a better player at Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2019. Right, so there we go. What a horrendously long video. I never realised it would be this long, but I was trying to put a lot of things into this video so that you can get an idea of the building blocks, you know, those parts of the jigsaw that when they come together, something will start to click and you'll start to get to the top of those lobbies. But anyway, if you've got any other questions or comments about Modern Warfare 2019 or shooters in general, put them down below. If this video has been helpful and you're still here, hit the like button, press subscribe if you want to see more, and of course, I'll see you again soon.